You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, Firmly Rooted family. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries on this Friday morning. And we're doing Living Sent. No, I am not Aaron Jackson. Aaron Jackson is on his way to Greendale, Indiana with my daughter and two grandsons. And they're going to do some ministry down there. So I told him that I would pick up the Living Sent devotion. And I got a lot to tell you, and my brain is going like a million miles a minute right now. So let me just say hi to a few people and see if in the process I don't settle myself down. I'm out there on YouTube. Good morning, Firm Rooted family. Bert Reggiani. Good morning, everyone. Ken Gooch. Good morning. My cousin Dave Donnelly. Good morning. Connie Sandbrink, Firmly Rooted Greendale. Looking forward to Aaron and Adrian and Reese and Louie spending some time with all of you down there. Just praying blessings upon your weekend. Emily, good morning. Well, there's Mr. Glenn. Hey, good to have you on board. All right. And he's also right here. Just he's jumping into my live stream right now. You see that, man? Look at that guy. All right. Brian Vlaming, good morning. All right, Living Sent. Living Sent. What does that look like? And I know that some of the discipleship principles in Christianity, and we were talking about this last night. This is why my brain's going a million miles a minute. That in Ephesians chapter 6, the whole section on the armor of God, the first phrase is, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. The question I asked the men last night is, do you wake up every day strong in the Lord and in mighty power? Do you sense that power? Do you sense that might? And I think the problem is because we in the realm of discipleship, we haven't gotten into that area where we start to have our new nature sense the presence of the Holy Spirit and hence know how to tap that power. We are void there. We don't see it, we don't feel it, and so we default to our old nature. Um, we have to realize that it was always Jesus's understanding that we would see these things as a natural progression, right? So right behind me is a switch. The light bulb doesn't decide to go on or off. Once there is power, the light goes on. It doesn't choose, it doesn't decide, it doesn't say, well, today I think I'm going to light. I mean, unless it burns out, it does what it's designed to do. What's my point? I want you to catch this section on the Sermon on the Mount. And I want you to just go through this with me just for a second. You are the salt of the earth. You did not choose to be the salt of the earth. You did not make a choice today to be the salt of the earth. You are supposed to be the salt of the earth. Why? Because you believe in me and because my spirit lives in you and you are part of a new kingdom. You really can't help it. It's like turning on the light bulb. God has turned on a light bulb inside of us, and we can't help but be salt back into the kingdom of this world. But he says, if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? If the salt somehow chooses to not be salt, then it's not salt. If someone, we think we have a choice to live sent when it's not a choice, it is supposed to be a state of being. We can't help it. The Holy Spirit inside of us moves us to see our lives different and see the world different and see our encounters different. And before you know it, we're acting differently in the encounters that we have with people because the Holy Spirit, the might and power of God, dwells in us. He who is in us is greater than he who is in the world. We can do exceedingly abundantly beyond all that we can ask or imagine according to the power that already dwells in us, already works in us. He is working in us a workmanship. Like we look at tithing and giving, and yes, there is a human choice in it, but that human choice very much can be robbed out of its true meaning. Jesus says you give like your left hand doesn't know what your right hand's doing. You don't even know that you're giving. You don't even know that you're doing it. On the last day, Matthew 25, the sheep and the goats, he says to the sheep, come to the places prepared for you. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you visited me. And everyone said, when did we do that? See, they didn't make a choice. They just were living transformed lives because they were tapping into the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit was tapping into them, and they were salt to the earth. Look at this verse 14. You are the light of the world. Not you chose to be the light. You're the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and it gives light to the whole house. See, the issue is that we don't have a choice to be salt and light, but it appears that if we don't live inside of our new nature, we can make the salt unsalty and we can put the lamp under a bushel. We can hide it. We have the ability to reject the work the Spirit wants to do in us. But once we come to know Jesus, everything changes. I've always wanted to tell you the story of when I first became a Christian, and that was in high school, but my first year in college, I started taking some courses, and one of the courses was an evangelism course, and this was one of the rare evangelists in the Lutheran church, I gotta say. And any rate, my decision was that I was so burning inside that I called my whole family into a family meeting, and I preached the gospel to them in my living room, or in my parents' living room. I couldn't do anything else. It had to come out. May have been a bit awkward, may have been a bit strange, but it's a time when the Holy Spirit just burned inside, and I could not help say the things I said and do the things I did. So we either grow in that discipleship, or we tend to grow in our old nature and we suffocate the light and we suffocate and choke off that work that we're supposed to be doing. I want you to get a picture that in reality, I preached a sermon on this once, is that we are like Navy SEALs. We go to church and Bible study and all that kind of stuff, men's group, women's groups, and we do that so that we can get trained. That we can get trained. That we can know God, know His Word, know the Spirit, know what He wants. He wants us to be witnesses. He wants us to do the things that He's called us to do. And then all of a sudden, it just starts becoming natural. We infiltrate. Like Navy SEALs, we go back and we infiltrate the kingdom of this world and intentionally let our light shine and intentionally live out our Christian faith out loud. And before you know it, people might get attracted to us. So what does living sent look like? It just looks like you understand and I understand that every day we're not just going to do our jobs. We're not just checking boxes. We are in God's mighty power. It dwells in us. The Holy Spirit dwells in us. Dynamos, dynamite. And what we do is we go out and allow the Holy Spirit to highlight a coworker. Find that we're meeting at a coffee place at work and ask them how they're doing. And we start to build relationships with people and maybe even go to lunch and get to know them better. Praying all the time that maybe, just maybe, God will open a door for you to talk about faith, or maybe they'll tell you something that you can pray about. And before you know it, you're naturally bringing spirituality, your spirituality, into the relationships. And that allows the Holy Spirit to roam and do the things that the Holy Spirit wants to do inside that other person. And there's just these natural ways that we let our light shine. Other times, we might come across somebody that has the same needs we have. That things that we wrestled with, guilt or shame or insecurities, and we then can all of a sudden share what God did in us to fix all that and correct all that, and that they need the same thing we have, and so we tell our testimony, we tell our story, and that's living sent. Sometimes we might be just in a conversation with someone and they're feeling a little bit lost and confused, and we say, "Hey, let me invite you to church, man. I'll buy you breakfast, but come to my church." And we're in a sermon series right now that I just, it's been powerful to me. I'll even send you last week's sermon, and give it a look. And if you're interested, I'd love for you to come to church, and I'll buy you breakfast afterwards and talk about it. There's times where you might see someone that's hurting and pause and go over and help them. Pray for them. Rather than wish a good day to someone, wish them a blessed day. I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't think that we have to think so much about what to do. We have to stop putting the lamp under a bushel. We have to stop saying no. We have to open up our hearts to the movement of the Holy Spirit, and we have to do what the Holy Spirit wants to do through us. See, it's not about our desire, it's about his will. Not my will, but thine be done. Not my control, but yours. You're in control. So use me. Let me be your hands and feet. What if we began every day in God's mighty power? And what if every day we expected God to do something and we began to have our new nature seeing what our old nature sees, and all but seeing beyond it, seeing kingdom purposes, seeing possibilities, seeing potentials of touching someone's life in just a small way? Living sent. Glenn just did a devotion about casting seed. We don't just cast seed in one place. We just scatter that seed all over the place. We just let our light so shine. We're throwing salt all over the place, all over the place. Why? So that it has an effect. God, use it whatever way you want, but I'm just going to live my faith out. In reality, living sent is living out your faith. God will do the rest. God will bring people into your lives, and God will work through you. Even the Holy Spirit will give you the words to say when you need the words to say. We got to quit overcomplicating these things. Lastly, I'll give you just one more image. It's that every day we realize that the power of the Holy Spirit, the same power that raised Jesus from the dead, lives in us. I mean, like, you know it. You not oida. You don't know it just as a Bible verse. You know it in your very being. And as soon as you begin to know that in your very being, things will begin to change. Because you're going to gratefully abide in Jesus, and he's going to gratefully abide in you, and you're going to live in this relationship even when you're going to work. You're going to live in this relationship when you're having fun. You're going to live in this relationship in every aspect of your life, and before you know it, you don't even know it, you are producing fruit because the vine is producing fruit through you. Don't overcomplicate this thing. I just ask you to do one thing. Wake up every morning and pause and ask yourself, are you sensing the Holy Spirit in you, and are you sensing the power and the authority of the Holy Spirit? If not, you can't put on the armor of God. You can't do any of it because you're going to think you got to will it to happen. I can't will this stuff to happen. It happens through me because I kill my will. I say that I'm not going to be in control, God, but you be in control. All right. Well, that's my version of living sent. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody. I know it maybe is a little bit scattered, but I'm just going to beg you to fall in love with Jesus every morning and realize that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives inside your very soul because you are a temple of the Holy Spirit. Know that he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. Fall in love with Jesus and go out, and you'll just make differences. Why? Because you'll begin to shine. The Holy Spirit will begin to shine through you. The Holy Spirit will begin to salt through you. All right. I'll leave it at that. Glenn is going to be back for prayer time at 9. Blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.